That's how you follow up a mediocre pay-per-view with an even more mediocre Nitro. I'm John Ritlin with a retro review of WCW Nitro from September 18, 2000. And unfortunately, it's not even the most mediocre or bad Nitro episode of the month of September because next week is Vince Russo becoming WCW champion. I fear for how much I'm going to yell during that review. This show was not very good. Now, Fall Brawl wasn't all that good, but had a few bright spots. That being said, it was still pretty fucking messy. And they were in Ontario, Canada, so at least Kitchener, I believe is what it was. Apologies to any of my Ontario fans if I mispronounced that. But yeah, Fall Brawl Fallout, and we start off with the remaining participants of the elimination match where Paul Orndorff had suffered the stinger and they had to stop the match, so the remaining people, while Stasiak was on commentary because Natural Born Thrillers versus Filthy Animals, Ray and Tigress versus Palumbo, O'Hare, Jindrak, and Sanders. And Stasiak also joined the match, so it was technically 5-on-2. And guess who fucking won? If you guessed the Natural Born Thrillers, well, you were wrong. Tigress pinned 4 of the people here. Why was Tigress allowed to be in the ring? It's not even that she's a bad... I just don't understand. I don't think she's a bad person, but what the fuck? Why? Why was this? Why were the Filthy Animals ever a thing? If it wasn't for MIA, the Filthy Animals would have been the worst stable going on in WCW at this time. Also, Queenie ends up attacking Stasiak, so we'll no doubt get that match at some point later. But yeah, Tigress pins Sanders to end the match and had pinned 4 guys. Good fucking God. Then Nash is upset and decides to coach the Natural Born Thrillers. They have so much talent and everything and all that. A lot of chalk used on this episode also because they were coming up with, like mapping out football plays and shit like that because apparently somebody thought this was a good idea and a good way to drive up ratings that were tanking into the fucking ground. And then Russo comes out mocking Goldberg's entrance and also reads a letter from Goldberg saying, oh, well, you're the better influence and everything, you are my god, this kind of thing. It was great. It was great stuff. Except it wasn't because it was Vince fucking Russo on WCW television. And then Scott Steiner shows up in leather pants, so he must have been fucking boiling at that point. He shouts about Goldberg. We get a Goldberg sucks chant because Canada was always defiant and always vocal about their passion for wrestling, and I certainly credit them for that. In fact, I love Canadian crowds. And he wants his title shot. Scott does, not his leather pants, as hilarious as that would have been. It honestly wouldn't have been any worse than Russo being champion. And then Jarrett comes out and wants a shot. Here's Nash. He also wants a shot. Russo has a solution. Scott and Jarrett versus Nash and Russo. The person who gets the fall gets the title shot next week because Russo had always wanted to be WCW champion. Fucking hell. Good God. I love what I do, really. I actually do love wrestling, but I'm just absolutely insane for continuing to review this. But I've gotten 5 months in, so why the fuck not go the remaining 6 months until the end? Why not? Could it really do that much long-term damage? Possibly, but no more than this company damaged wrestling long-term as it was. So, Nash is then yelled at to fix this. And cue the Fry thing, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. He was told that by Scott and Jarrett, by the way. We then get Shane Douglas and Tory versus Queenie and Paisley, and it was at this point that I was questioning why Shane Douglas was being featured on WCW programming. It's not that he was awful, but he was fucking washed by this point. Tory should have not been in the ring, though for some reason she was dressed like a cosplay version, or a, more adult version of April O'Neil from the Ninja Turtles franchise. And yeah, the franchiser pins Paisley. This match went about 3-4 minutes and it was pointless. Russo then has chalk talk and everything and, writing out the stuff and writing out that he's the bigger man and that he'll pin the person and nobody will get hurt. And then Nash comes up with some stuff and writes some stuff out and it writes bite me. And for some reason I laughed at this, probably because I was trying to laugh at anything to get through this godforsaken episode. And then Booker and Sting brawl before their title match because they were suddenly friends and now they aren't and they're just brawling. And then Disco has a Disco Duck. The one benefit is Scott Steiner will take out the Disco Duck at one point and we will get to hear the line, which I will not say until it actually happens. But my God, get the duck, get the duck. Boy, we love seeing the duck get hits. Just unfortunate there wasn't Disco in the place of the duck. By the way, though, the duck had more personality. Disco challenges Miller to a match. And he has a Disco Duck with him. It's a plastic duck, by the way, in case you're wondering what the fuck it is. And he says to Miller, he says, okay, if I win, I can be commissioner. And Miller says, well, what if you lose? And Disco says, the Filthy Animals give up the tag titles. Thanks, Disco. Thanks. Fucking thanks, Disco. The Filthy Animals must have been sane. It's fucking ridiculous. Fucking goddamn ridiculous. So why was Disco Inferno employed at this point? Why? Why was he employed in the wrestling company? I just don't understand it. So, it's Disco versus Miller and all that stuff. Disco hits him with the duck. Shivani's exact line. Did I just see a man get hit with an inflatable duck? That's Tony Schiavone with the line of the year so far, until the next line that he says about get the duck. And then Miller wins in about 20 seconds, hits a kick. So suddenly the Filthy Animals no longer have the tag team titles. Whether Ray and Hoovy were believable tag champions at this point is subject for debate, but they defended them. Yes, there were a lot of shenanigans because Filthy Animals, one of the worst stables going, and also just shenanigans in general, but they defended the titles and they lost them this way. And it was just fucking stupid. And then Disco gets chased away. And then he gets, he leaves and everything, hopefully never to be seen again. Unfortunately, he would be seen again. And then they replay the whole David Flair, Mike Tenay, where David Flair attacks the mailman thing from Fall Brawl. And check out my review of that if you want to hear it. So then M.I. Smooth is there, a.k.a. Ice Train, a.k.a. why the fuck was M.I. Smooth ever given Mike? And he says, hey, David, I got a tape that'll show you who the father is. And then David, pretty much doing a dead run out there. I mean, it's like, fucking hell, that was impressive. Has a crowbar and everything, and M.I. Smooth says, hey, you pay the cash, you can have the tape. So they do that. And then David Flair blindsides him and leaves him laying. Doesn't take the cash, but just blindsides him. Because why not? Because he's nuts. He's all nuts. David Flair in WCW was miscast, and it was a horrible idea. Hey, earned money. Good for him. Fucking hell, it was a bad idea. And then Jarrett and Scott yell at Russo. And then Russo ends up giving Sanders a tape to play for Chronic, because I guess Jarrett and Scott yelled about Chronic at one point. The team, not the calming substance. Or maybe both. I have no fucking idea. They could smoke whatever they want. And then Booker versus Sting, world title match. Look, the match was fine for about a minute, and then Jarrett attacked. Then Scott attacked. And then we get a double submission because the match got thrown out. Figure 4, and then Steiner recliner. That's where we went with it. That was the world title match they had hyped. That was fucking abhorrent. And then Sanders delivers the tape. David hits Jimmy Hart with a crowbar after being told that M.I. Smooth has a tape player in his limousine, which was apparently a thing. I've never rode in a limo, or driven a limo for that matter. So I have no idea what limos have. And then Chronic versus Jarrett and Steiner later tonight. Yes, he hit Jimmy Hart with a crowbar. By the way, just to not to gloss over that. Lance Storm gets a pop because Canada. Duggan shows up, clean shaven, with a haircut, because Duggan turning heel was a good idea, except it totally wasn't. MIA runs out of the ring, 6-man tag match. Duggan, Skipper, and Storm versus, I think it was Chavo, Lash LaRue, and Hugh Morris. Skipper goes through a table. AWOL just fuck it, throw him through a table. Why not? And then Duggan hits everybody with his 2x4, laying his wood all across the other men's backs, and pins Hugh Morris 1, 2, 3. Great way to showcase your talent. When your main event was the longest match, and I think it was maybe 7 minutes, that's not a good thing on a 2-hour wrestling show. And then Russo, Scott, and Jarrett, more yelling, much yelling, such wow. Awesome, and Gary Coleman show up. Then Gary Coleman leaves, goes in a limo, and then Vampiro and ICP get to the Partridge Family bus that Mike Awesome has and deface it. Because why not? Nash and the Natural Born Thrillers, if you will, are, discussing strategy. Because why not? And then Chronic versus all the Natural Born Thrillers on the stage. And then Jarrett and Steiner attack and then pin, I think it was Brian Clark. I tuned out at this point. But why not? By the way, it was supposed to be Chronic versus Jarrett and Steiner. And then, why does the show make no sense? Was an exact note that I wrote. Mike Awesome is upset about his bus being vandalized. Russo gets Sting to be his tag partner, or does he? And then, Awesome calls out Vampiro for a hardcore match, which they have. They battle in the crowd. We get weapons and shit. We get a table bomb. Ouch. Looked like Vampiro really hurt himself. Unfortunately, Vampiro would suffer a legit broken neck at Halloween Havoc about a month later. And then David sees the tape, yells, Stacy, and then Russo comes out, of the shower seemingly before his match And Booker's there. And I guess Booker lays him out because we get Scott Steiner and Jarrett versus Sting and Booker. Yeah, this is what we're getting. We're getting the winner, the person who gets the fall gets the title shot. The match is a mess. Medeja gets involved. Miss Jones, Ernest Miller's assistant, attacks her with a very safe slam. To be fair, neither woman was really an experienced worker or even experienced in the ring at all. And then Russo shows up all beaten up with his shirt torn. And his bat ends up in the hands of Booker T. He smashes Scott in the face, who does not have his face guard. And Booker throws Russo on top of Scott 1, 2, 3. And then yells at him, "You face me next week, da-da-da." This is all I gotta say to that. Yeah, terrible show. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. Not looking forward to reviewing the Vince Russo episode, the Vince Russo title win episode, that is, but I will. Anyway, I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.